everybody. Welcome to the TraderMerlin Show. It is your Thursday edition, getting near the tail end of the week. Short weeks are always so much fun. Hope you had a good session out there. Enjoyed some of that short activity. I didn't think it was going to be that aggressive, especially for the Russell, but we'll talk about that on the second portion of our program. So good afternoon, Thomasina. I see Katut over in New York City. Katut, did you move to New York City now? I remember you were in Indonesia. Are you permanently in New York now? Because when I come to Indonesia, I need a tour guide. We got Gary, we got Boss Poopa, Options Merchant, Joachim, good to see you. We got John as well from CTEC. From the airport, are you working there, John, or are you just traveling right now? Ricardo, I see Skilled Stocksman beat out Les for first place, and Gary as well. So hello, everybody. I've had a bunch of questions, and normally what happens is I love getting emails from you, which is why I put the email up there every day, which is TraderMerlin@gmail.com. If you have questions on anything regarding trading, investing, fundamentals, retirement, etc., just put it in there, and if I can't get an answer, I'll find one for you. One question that's come in a lot recently, I've tried about 5 times in the last couple of months, has been trading computers. And I thought, okay, I'll do a session just on trading computers, but I forgot, I didn't get everybody's names out there. I only got one because I just looked at the most recent email. So I came up with this nice graphic today. Looking at building a trading computer, I said, give me a trader who looks really confused with all kinds of computer components in his hand. I think it did a pretty darn good job. I had a little green squiggly line in there for some just extra effect. But it says, can you talk about the computers you use to trade? What is important? And I thought, okay, I will definitely discuss that one today. So we will do that. That's our show topic for today. Probably give me about 30 minutes out of this just alone, and then we'll move on to just overall markets and prepare for our Friday session. So with regards to your trading computer, there's a couple key considerations that you need to make and things that you have to ask yourself. The first thing I want you to ask yourself is, what type of software are you using to trade? Okay, so when you look at trading, there are software out there. There's software like Thinkorswim, where you have to physically download an application and that installs on your computer. You have TradeStation, installs on your computer. NinjaTrader, installs on your computer. So if it's that type of software, you need specific sets of requirements that are set by those companies. So you can go out to Thinkorswim or TradeStation or NinjaTrader or any of these other ones, and it will tell you, here's the basics. They usually give you 2. They'll say, this is the basic requirement, and here's your recommended. So I went through those 3. Let me see if I can bring one up here for you. So I thought this was kind of funny. This is from NinjaTrader. I guess I could be a little bit better with my labeling here. Hold on a second as I label this for you. So this was directly from NinjaTrader, so I'll put this on there. There you go, NinjaTrader. They say they want a 2 gigahertz or faster quad-core 64-bit processor. 2 gigahertz is, I mean, it's hard to find a processor that's only 2 gigahertz now. Like now everything is so much more advanced than that. So it basically they set the bar really low over at NinjaTrader, which is great. That means their software can probably, run with minimal resources. Now they want 8 gigs of RAM. Okay, that's good. Most people don't have this, right? Most people have a lot less RAM than 8 gigs on their computer. People have 4. I recommend going much higher than this. You can get 16 gigs of RAM right now for $50. And I'm going to show you a site I used when I built this computer for the trade show. Plus I've got another computer that's the trading one, and I will show you. I built 2 different models for you just to give you an idea of what to look for and how to build them. For me, I personally wouldn't go anywhere lower than 16 gigs of RAM. I'll explain why in a second. Now on Ninja, it says a solid state drive. Yeah, I think a solid state drive is important. They're just faster. It's much quicker at accessing the hard drive. What I do on my computers is I have a solid state hard drive, and then I also have a standard, 7200 RPM, 2 or 3 gig hard drive that just sits there, and I use that as kind of backup data. So all the applications get put on the SSD drive for faster, more efficient transfer. And then if I have data storage, like for example, for TraderMerlin, I'm always backing up my shows, backing up my files, my PowerPoint, everything I've used for every show since I've ever started is on that drive. So if I ever need to access that information for whatever reason, I have it there. But I don't want to clutter my solid state drive, which should be just for the application itself. All data storage I do off on another hard drive, which nowadays you can get a 2 terabyte hard drive for $50 or something at some electronics store. So this is a very basic one from NinjaTrader. I wanted to bring that up because I thought that one was funny. I will go to the next one here. This is from Thinkorswim. I'm sorry, no, this is TradeStation. So you see they have 3 different categories here. You've got minimum requirements, standard user recommendation, and then power user recommendation. Look, let's be honest. Computers are so cheap nowadays. Go with the power user recommendation. Even with the power user, it doesn't mean you're out there buying the highest end equipment. You don't need to get the best of the best of the best, but you could get something that's a couple models back and still be really good. So I'm just going to read the power user recommendation here. They say quad-core Intel or AMD processor at 3 gigahertz or faster. Okay. They said 12 gigabytes of RAM. Look, they typically come in multiples of 4. So you can have 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, that type of. 16's easy. I'll show you the price there in a second. Hard drive. They recommend solid state, as I do. They can also do that 7200 RPM drive. That's fine. I have both because it doesn't cost that much. Here's where things get tricky on these applications. If you are using a downloaded software, right, something that you are literally downloading the application, it's probably a good idea to get a dedicated video card, because what will happen is when you use these applications, it's going to start to utilize your system resources extensively, and it may tie up different parts of that application. Especially TradeStation, it's a hog, right? TradeStation is, Pepe says, TradeStation is great software, but if you have too many tabs open in the power user, it will crash. Yeah, and to me, that's where that consideration comes in. So for my trading, I typically have, well, when I was using TradeStation, which I still do for analysis, but honestly, I don't use TradeStation anymore. Sorry, TradeStation, you guys screwed me over. Bad service. I have 3 monitors, and each one of those is a full screen with tabs. So I'm using a tremendous amount of system resources. If you don't have a dedicated video card, that'll start to come out of your CPU, and all of a sudden you'll find that your CPU is just maxed out, can barely run all that. If it has an integrated video card as well, usually they can't handle it. So I always recommend get yourself a separate video card. So, what this broadcasting station I have up here for the show, I've got my left monitor is my browsers and tabs. Over here, I've got slides and other information. And then my middle is mission control. I have to have 3 monitors, possibly even more, to run the show effectively and not look silly. To do that, I got a special video card. I'll show you that video card here in a second so you can kind of see what it is. It has 3 display outputs, and I think it actually has 12 gigs of RAM built into the video card itself. So that's not even touching I think in this computer I have 32 gigs of RAM. It's not utilizing any of that. It's just using the video card. So I'm trying to partition the resources so that the software can function effectively. Anything it needs to display can be done without any problems, and any other data it needs from my CPU is not going to conflict with that. That to me is pretty important. Let's see. And again, when you think of a video card, most of the motherboards you get have built-in video cards. You don't want one like that. You want one that has the ability to have an extra or an added-in video card, which is just much more powerful and better, and can usually get you to multiple monitors. It says operating system. Everything now is 64-bit, so there you go. I was surprised to see that TradeStation recommended using Internet Explorer or Edge browser. I despise both of those platforms. I think they're both terrible. Let's see. Yes, we're talking TradeStation. I'll get back to that one in a second. And then, obviously, your internet connection. So, internet connection is critical. You want your internet to be robust. I recommend go fiber optic. Guys, if you can get fiber optic, do it. Check your neighborhood. Google has fiber optic. I know Time Warner or AT&T has fiber optic. I use AT&T. I have not had any issues with this show with streaming, and I usually test right before the show to make sure I've got significant bandwidth. So, definitely... Slice is about my 386 for $2,700. Yeah, what in the early 90s, dude? 386. Do you have a monochrome monitor? Good times. All right, so it's gonna be harder to read this one. This is actually Thinkorswim. So with Thinkorswim, they recommend having an Intel. I'm just gonna go with the power user. I wouldn't even consider doing their average PC user. Just go for the high end stuff. And again, they're right in line with the way I would build it. They're saying Intel Core i7. I'll be honest, AMD makes a chip that's, in my opinion, better and about half the price. Just saying, you don't have to go with IBM or Intel. You can use AMD, and I'm going to show you both of those builds in just a second so you can see the difference in computers. So they said Intel Core i7. Now, one thing I don't know, and I would actually probably want to call support, is there a conflict with your software with an AMD chip? Just making sure, because sometimes there are issues with different operating systems or different software, and maybe, just maybe, and I don't know, just maybe Thinkorswim has an issue with AMD processors. Could be, it's a possibility, it's worth checking out, because they don't say it here. Normally they would say Intel i7 or AMD. Then we go down here through the bottom. Yeah, I'm going to get to that one, August. Yeah, you got to make sure you have a big enough power supply, and I'll show you. I'm going to show you about an amazing resource here in a second. They also say 1 gig hard drive. Yep. Dedicated video card, non-workstation. That was my recommendation as well. And they say as far as your network, 15 megabytes download is what you want. It's not the upload or the upload so much. It's really the download that you want to make sure you can get all that data. So let me go over here, and there is a. Let me real quickly bring up the website for you. It's called PC Part Picker. And if you want, I can type that in the chat for you as well. But here is the page. I will copy it in there, and I'm getting no money from PC Part Picker. Don't worry, this is not a gratuitous solicitation. There's a lot of other companies out there, but I think this is a great resource for you guys. So what you can do is you can go here and click on Builder in the upper left, right? And you can go through here and start to pick out which processor you want. So I built the one that Thinkorswim has recommended, which is an Intel Core i7, right? 3700, 3.4 gigahertz processor. That's $407. So I got that. I got a cooling fan, which I recommend if you're getting any of those bigger processors. I've got the motherboard here. And one great thing about this is when you select your components at PC Part Picker for anybody who might want to build their own, it'll tell you if there's any issues compatibility-wise. So I scroll down here at the bottom, and you can see here it says, warning, it'll give me all the incompatibility issues. It says that this motherboard that I just picked, it supports the i7, so it supports that processor, but it comes with a BIOS that might be old. You might need to update that BIOS. Okay, no problem. If you buy that one, you can just upgrade the BIOS. That's not that hard to do. So I got the motherboard in there. I'm using, this one has 16 gigs of RAM, so it's using two 8-gig video cards of RAM, right? It's very simple, and I'll show you. We'll build one from scratch if you guys want. I know some of you might be bored, but I'm hoping you're not. I also put in right here a solid state 1 terabyte hard drive. Look, it's $54, man. They're so cheap. I also put in the video card. I believe this is the one that I'm using for the show right now. It's the MSI GeForce RTX 3060. Now, this has 12 gigs of RAM built into the video card, and this is usually the most expensive part of your build is going to be the video card. The reason I chose this one is it has 3 display out ports, so I can run 3 monitors, no problem whatsoever. I have never had I better knock on some wood. I've never had a glitch, a hiccup, or anything since I put in that video card. Owen says, how many G's on the fiber optic? Usually it's 1 gig. You get a gigabyte of upload and download is what I'm told I get, right? I'm told that I get a gig of upload and download, but here, let's just do a speed test just so you can see. If you're not sure how much data you guys use or what your internet is like, again, I highly recommend you do this test right here. So let me bring this and type it in chat for everybody. There's a lot of them out there. This is called a speed test, right? So I just click on this bad boy, and it's now going to run a speed test on my computer. So this is actually rather slow for me. You can see it's going to do it by upload and then by download. So right now I'm running about 400 megabytes per second, which, okay, that's good. Late at night here, I'll get like 8 or 9, which is really fast. This is the important one for me, is the upload. Because I'm streaming, it's critical that I have heavy upload. And as you can tell here, 275 is more than sufficient to broadcast a live streaming show. So I think that this is, my connection here, this is supposed to be a gig up and a gig down, but this is what I'm actually getting. Are you going to cover internet speeds and types of connections? Well, I'm not necessarily going to cover them. My feeling is the cost to get 10 megs of upload and download versus the cost to get a gig is maybe an extra $30 a month. Pay it. Because it's not just that you're trading off this thing. If you're sitting at home trading and you're done for the day, well, you can still sit down and you're watching your Netflix. You have no streaming issues, no bandwidth issues, I don't know. I think that my Time Warner is $89 or $79 a month. It's not cheap, but I'm using the internet not only for my trading, for all my social, everything I do online, for this show, for trading, for streaming. I watch a lot of TV and movies. to me, it's critical to have that. So I would say get fiber optic. If you can't get fiber optic, then I would shop around and make sure that you have something, at least on the upload side, that's faster than 10. I've seen uploads at like 1, and depending on the application, sometimes there's upload speeds that are necessary. For most trading applications, if you're getting, let's say, 20 megabytes per second, you can pretty much do all the trading you need to do with 20 megs. But if the cost is $20 more to get a gig, get it if you can. Larry also brings a really important one. He says direct Ethernet connection makes a big difference. Yes. So I don't recommend that you ever trade wireless unless you have to. So, for example, I traded from a beach in Thailand once. It was one of my favorite trading stories ever. I just sat there and made a few $100 in a very short period of time. I was all wireless, but there's that vulnerability of that internet connection going up or down, the wireless router crashing, somebody getting into that connection and stealing information. Dangerous. The stability and safety you get by keeping that Ethernet cable connected to your actual physical computer is well worth it. So I would highly recommend that you keep that Ethernet cable connected. Don't run the risk of having a problem with your Wi-Fi or internet. Okay, so we've kind of jumped around here just a little bit. Let me go back to this one. This was, of course, the speed test. And if you guys are curious, just run a test on your computer, right? You might be surprised at how much or how little you have. So in this computer that we're building here, this was the Intel version. I bought myself a case. I got a power supply here. So what's great about this is it tells you at the top of the page right here, estimated wattage. This computer, as built, will use about 527 watts of power. So I bought myself a 750 watt power supply for this one. And I also bought Windows 10, 64-bit professional. It's funny, the professional version is actually 44 cents cheaper than the home version. Kind of crazy. All right, so this computer all built out, it's going to be about $1,300. And they're going to charge you $7 to ship it all. Gotta love it. You can just click a button and it'll buy all this from Amazon and ship to you for $7. But that's $1,329, right? And that was what they call the power user at Thinkorswim. That was their power user one. And I'm like, you know what? Hold on. Let me see what it is building it the way that I want. So the i7, which is a 3400 gigahertz processor, I will go and now show you the Merlin build, which I think is this one. So I've already got more power, because you can see this one was 3.4 gigahertz. I'm looking at, let me move these around so it's just easier for me to move. Okay. My TraderMerlin, I'm using the AMD Ryzen 5. The Ryzen 5 is only $168. It's a 6-core processor, 3.7 gigahertz. I'm not exactly sure, but the Intel one has 16 cores, so that's obviously much better. However, the cost-wise is pretty significant price difference there, and I'm using the Ryzen 5 personally. I could go and get a new one and get a faster Ryzen. But anyway, let me just show you how it all builds out with my Merlin version. I got the same cooler. I got a different motherboard because it needed one for the AMD processor. I got 32 gigs of, 32 gigs of RAM. In the previous one, we only got 16 total. This one, I've got 32 gigs of RAM. So I'm really utilizing the RAM. I'll explain why in a second. I got 1 terabyte drives, same one. I got the same video card, the same case, the same power supply, and the same Windows. And basically what I got here is I saved myself about $300. So it went from $1,300 to $1,000. So, this to me makes a world of difference. $300, that's, almost a 30% savings just because I went with this AMD Ryzen. Now let me go back here and just create a new one just so you guys can see this when I go on motherboard. And hold on as it reloads here. Start new and unknown error. Okay, well, we'll just go click on OK. We'll go back to builder. And see, says start new. Okay, so right here, when you click on CPU, here you can use this. This is the brand new one, the Ryzen 7, which is a beast of a machine. It's still only $229. You can go with the Ryzen 7 7800 3D, which is way more power than I need, and that's $439. That's gonna be right around the same price as the Intel i7. So really cool site here. Again, you start from scratch, and you just go builder, and it will show you the whole list of choices, and you build everything out yourself. If you like it, you click a button and it all comes to your doorstep. You will save yourself a heap of money by building this yourself. It's not that hard. Just remember to ground yourself and anti-static everything before you start putting it all together. But it'll take a little bit of time, especially when you actually install Windows for the first time and get the operating system going. But you save yourself a lot. Plus, I like getting my hands dirty and knowing the video card and all the different ports and everything. I built it out. Sava says 32 gigs is great and cheap upgrade versus being at 16. Totally. It's going to cost like $40 more to double the RAM. And here's why it's important. Earlier, I asked you a couple different considerations, which was, what type of software are you using? And again, my first point was, if you're using a downloaded software, that's going to be heavy on your system because it's pulling all these resources from your system. However, if you're using a web-based platform and you don't download anything, you just log into an E-Trade or a Ameritrade, even something like Click, right? Click was designed to not use your system resources as much as a downloaded application because it doesn't download an app. It uses your browser. And typically, browsers go after RAM. They go heavily after RAM. I mean, I could bring up what's running the show right now, and let me real quickly see if I can do that. Hope I don't crash the show. See if we can crash the show today. So look here. You can see all the different applications I'm running right now, and you can see that Google Chrome, oops, you can't see that. There you go. You guys can see that Google Chrome is using 20 megs of memory right now. 20! Well, thank goodness this machine up here has 32. Can you imagine if I was using a 16 gigs of memory? My computer might be crashing right now. You notice my CPU is barely being touched. And keep in mind, guys, I've got like 12 browser tabs open. I've got my streaming software. I've got PowerPoint running. I've got Word open. I've got Office open. I have about 15 different things going on here, and I'm only using 11% of my CPU. That is really important. So if you're using a software-based one and it goes to a browser and it's downloaded, then you need to beef up your computer. If you're just going to an E-Trade and Ameritrade and using their standard one streaming from the web, a lot less consumption of browser resources, but it's still going to go after RAM. Therefore, go with 64 gigs if you can, or at least go 32. 16, in my opinion, especially if you're using browsers a lot, is the bare bones minimum. I use Chrome as well, Margaret, but it is a hog. I just showed you right there. I mean, that is using a lot of resources. That's pretty shocking to see right now. Oops, we don't want that. That it's using 91% of my memory, and the bulk of it is coming from those browsers. It's just nuts how much resources that those browsers use. So anyway, thought you might like that one. As you can see here, this OBS Studio, which I use to stream the show, it's using 6% of my computer resources. All right, no big deal. Okay, let me get that out of the way. Anyway, I thought you guys might want to see that one. That's about as transparent as you're going to get on this one, showing you all that this computer uses. So if you're using a browser-based software, then beef up your RAM on your existing computer. You can go with fewer resources. Next question is, how active are you? You know, if you're somebody who's day trading and you're very active and you're there every single day grinding it out for hours, then I would say get a dedicated machine. You're just utilizing it more, right? It's like saying, are you a casual driver or are you a professional driver? If you're a professional driver, that car shouldn't be used to run errands. If you're a casual driver, yeah, you can use it for whatever you want. Download this app, that app, the other thing. So, August says uses Firefox for trading. Oh, good to know. I should probably do a Pepsi challenge one day and open browsers one at a time and see which one uses the most from trading aspect. I have not done that, but that'd be an interesting one because if you look at things like Brave, there's Brave, there's Firefox, there's Edge, there's Chrome, there's several others out there, DuckDuckGo. They probably all have different pros and cons for us as traders. So yeah, I've never done that test. That's a good one. Yeah, I agree with Saba. Nothing beats a desktop, but some of you want to travel. Then basically what you got to think of are the same considerations. Whatever I said here, the same goes for your laptop, right? So if you're going to be traveling and you want to trade from a laptop and you're downloading software like Thinkorswim or TradeStation, then look to get as beefy of a laptop as you can get. Finding laptops with 32 or 64 gigs of RAM, those get pretty expensive. So now, most of my trading is going to be done at home. I really don't do much trading from laptops anymore, although I do have a laptop. It's not an i7, by the way. Actually got an i5 with 16 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte solid state hard drive. That's if I have to travel, I'll use that one. Let's see, believable directions says trade stops, desktop application needs, a lot of bandwidth, not sure on the memory. Yeah, they, as you saw earlier, they recommended from their memory perspective, this is TradeStations right here, they recommend having, minimum 8 up to 12 gigs. I certainly think it should be much more than that, and you can see here their bandwidth connection. They say only 10 megabytes. I think 10 megabytes is exceptionally low, very low. Why not go with the MacBook Pro? First off, I hate Macs. That's just the main reason. I don't like Apple, even though I have an Apple Watch, an Apple phone, but I'm not an Apple fan. But let's put my opinions aside. One of the issues, and this was definitely something that happened when I started my trading career, was that a lot of companies didn't write software for Apple. Now, this, of course, is going back in the late 90s, early 2000s. A lot of the trading platforms didn't work with Apple products. Now they're all, I think, going to be relatively compliant. So I don't know the differences from a infrastructure perspective on will a MacBook Pro work or not. So I couldn't go there. I don't know that answer for you, Doc. Otherwise, I would tell you MacBook Pro. I don't really know that many traders that use MacBook Pros to trade, honestly. Most people that I know are going to be using PCs. My futures broker used to only use PC. Yep, same for me. I think part of it has to do with just legacy. I'm familiar with the operating system of Windows. I know them inside and out. Learning a MacBook Pro operating system is going to be different for me, even though they say it's so much easier. I'm not going to make that switch now, but it is something that's it's become a preference, as Heinz says. See, Tom says 3 years ago, you would see traders posting their 8-monitor workstations. Now it's very common to see phone screenshots of trading groups. Phones are the new trading station. Yeah, and again, if you're using that, you're using much less resource, right? A lot of people are trading from their phones or from iPads, or from little, tablets, which I think is great. I can't. I need all the charts. I know I'm a dork, but I just like to have the space. However, have I traded from my phone? Oh, many, many, many times. I actually trade quite a bit from my phone. There'll be times where I'm traveling. Oh shoot, let me check real quick. Oh, great. Let me go put this trade on and I'll make a trade. But yes, I do trade from my phone a lot, but I think it's much more comfortable to have multiple monitors. Personally, the minimum that I'd want to trade with is 2 monitors. Minimum. I prefer 3. I've been addicted to 3 monitors for trading for a long, long time. Just have my monitors set up in a certain way. Okay, so let me go back to the other question I had. So how active are you will help dictate what you should be looking at as far as computer. But then the third question is it a dedicated machine? So one thing I know personally that's happened to me is TradeStation years ago, I think it was, I want to say version 8 of their TradeStation software, it would have issues with Microsoft Office. So, if you had Microsoft Office open, they were competing to utilize the same resources, and it would cause issues with TradeStation. So on the final note here would be, if you're a real active person, I think that you need a dedicated machine. Now, I'm not saying it can only have trading stuff on it, but you shouldn't be downloading all sorts of software and other applications on it. It should be streamlined and as simple as possible. While you're trading, you should also have things closed. Now, I know when we start up, you get like Outlook opens or your Teams opens or all these different programs that you use. I would close those out, because the last thing that I want to have is multiple software competing for system resources while I'm trying to make a trade. And heaven forbid there should be some conflict and it delays my execution or it crashes my computer in the middle of a trade. That's the last thing I want. So, yep, John says, you can't really do analytics on your phone with Thinkorswim. My only complaint with trading on mobile devices, yeah, it's not enough space, not enough real estate. Now, pretty soon we'll have phones that you open it up and it puts a nice digital screen right in front of you. That will be cool, but I think we're years away from that. So those are your key considerations. What type of software are you using? Is it a downloaded software or is it browser-based? From that, you can make the decision about what type of system you want to build. How active are you, and is it a dedicated machine? I think play into this discussion as well, because a dedicated machine, you remove a lot of the errors, and there's a lot of potential errors that you are going to download and install on that computer. And you might not even know it, but some application could have a conflict with others. So if you're really active and this is your like bread and butter for work, then just keep it clean, keep very minimal on that. Maybe you do have Microsoft Office on there so you can use Excel and keep track of your stuff, but I wouldn't have anything open other than my trading while I'm trading. And again, you saw how much resources the browsers were consuming through Google Chrome for me to do this show. I mean, that was pretty crazy. Using 90% of my GP or my RAM, and I got a lot of RAM. I got 32 gigs of RAM in here, and it's using almost all of it. Crazy. Okay, what else did I have? I think that was it for that part of the discussion. There was a couple other pieces. What other questions did you guys have? I think there was a couple other questions I didn't get to. And if I didn't get to it, please type it back in real quick. Put some question marks before it so I can see it. I know I was kind of going through this piece rather quickly. I already put into the chat the site, which is called PC Part Picker. You know, you can shop around. What I did is when I built mine, I clicked on all these pieces I want, and I ended up with a computer that looked like, let's go here. We'll go to my, where are my builds? Save parts list. So I went to this Merlin's list, and I just printed this out, and I went down to Micro Center, and if they had this part cheaper than Amazon, I bought it there. If they didn't have this part cheaper at Amazon, let me rephrase that. If Micro Center had it cheaper than Amazon, I'd buy it directly at the store. If Amazon was cheaper, I would click the buy button and buy it right now, have it delivered to my house the next day. So just something to keep in mind here. Micro Center and a lot of these places have amazing sales. So you might see this, the Ryzen, whatever, the 5600 here. It says $168 for this processor. Sorry, the guy's car alarm is going off outside. It's driving me crazy. But all of a sudden you might see a voucher that says, oh, it's only $100 today. Awesome, right? Shop around. You'll find great deals on computer components. I don't really care what the case is, so I bought the cheapest one. I think this is actually the one that I have here in the house that I use for this. I don't care what my case looks like. It sits under a desk. Big deal. But hopefully this will help you in your quest to build out the computer. With regards to internet, again, get as much as you can. Even though your feed says, oh, we're selling you a 10 megabyte package, you might be only getting 5 or 6, which is why you should run a speed test on your computer to see how it's performing. And do it at different times of the day. You'll find it at night, it gets fairly bogged down because everyone's home using their computers. No fancy lights in the PC like the kids have. No, I think this actually does have a couple of LEDs on it. It actually does, but it came with it. I don't really care about the LED lights. It makes no difference to me. Let's see. Is there a phone trading app that allows intelligent orders with stop losses? That's a good one, Dave. I don't know. I don't use it enough. I'm just going quick orders, and then I'll usually be back home where I can manage it and put all the stops in place. So I don't know I'm sure they've got to have bracket orders on some of these apps out there. I could probably log in and look, but maybe I'll answer that one on tomorrow's show when I do a little bit of dive. I use Crucial website to upgrade my PC. It will scan your PC and let you know what you can do. That's cool. So you mean your existing computer? It'll look at all your resources on your personal one and say, what does it look like? That's kind of cool. So much easier to build a PC now than back when I was a kid. Oh yeah, it's actually really easy. Really easy. Feels like cheating. Just make sure the case fits your GPU cooler. Yep. And one of the things that's nice about this website is it will tell you what works and what doesn't. It'll tell you is it compatible or not and what doesn't fit. It's funny you say that, August. One of my considerations, I actually like my computer to be really quiet. So I'm looking for silence with the fans, etc. I got a really super silent fan. I mean, you can't hear it here, but I know some people, just all you hear is just going and going and going. Yeah, not for me. I want it to be quiet. So I hope that helped you. And as you're building these things out, just think, at least for me, I look at it as this is a business expense. So setting it up as an LLC and trading through that, this is all a business expense. So that computer becomes a tax write-off. You don't necessarily need to cut corners, but you don't need to go all in and buy the most amazing thing that's out there. Don't buy the most expensive stuff. You don't need to do that. Trading's not like that. It's not like you're doing AI algorithms. You're just trading. So data is pretty set. You know what the data sets look like. You get to a certain point, you'll be able to accommodate all the possible data that you could possibly imagine. Some trading platforms are running on Java. You can increase heap size to improve the platform performance. You're talking getting into the code and changing clock time and things like that to adapt to Java. That's a little bit higher than my pay grade. I'm just looking to build the system that is already just system resources alone going to accommodate much more than I need for my trading personally. All right, John, have a good trip. Let's see. That fan drives me crazy, but it tells me when there's... Yeah, that's true. My new Mac likes trading. My old Mac, no likey trading. Man, So you're trading with the Mac and it's been no problem. It's cool. Good. Yeah, I'm never going to make that switch. It just won't happen to me personally, but okay, let me go into our markets here, and I got that pretty much done. We'll just dive into what happened in our top 7. If you guys have any last-minute questions there, type them on in, and I will get to those and answer them as we finish up here. From the bottom of the list, Russell, which is actually bouncing a little bit right now, was down more than this. It was down over 2%. Right now, as we do the show, we're down 1.68% for the Russell, which gave back a week and a half worth of gains in almost 2 trading sessions. Now, you notice where we're coming to. You had this nice double top on the Russell. Now all of a sudden it looks like you might be hitting a double bottom, and Tom might have to bring up another sideways consolidation box. I think it might be a bit premature to draw the box here. I'll just drop it right there. But that could be where we're headed on the Russell. I'm going to move this over just a hair so we can see that one kind of run through. Yeah, I think it could be interesting going forward. I almost put an order to buy IWM at this low point here, but I decided not to. Just want to be a little cautious going forward. Right now, everyone's really expecting a 25 basis point rate increase off the economic data that happened today. Actually, let me dive into that first and show the economic data. Here's the big news today was the ADP non-farm employment change. So they were expecting it to drop. They thought they were going to lose about 41,000 jobs. We actually ended up gaining 230,000 jobs. Hello, you're going the right way. Pretty crazy to see that big of a jump in non-farm employment change, which, remember, when this spikes like this, it means that there's a ton of jobs out there. People are getting hired. It's great for the economy. That's going to help the unemployment numbers, and that gives the Fed the green light to raise rates, because their concern is their actions of raising rates as aggressively, it's going to start to create more unemployment. And this is one of those further supporting pieces which says, hey, now, it doesn't look like it's actually impacting the unemployment numbers, so let's keep going and raise even more. So here is your FOMC countdown. There's the FOMC. I think it jumped to 92% today. 91. So we're at 91% that they're going to have a 25 basis point rate hike on the 26th of this month. That has been progressively getting higher and higher. A month ago it was only 50%. I still am in the camp of keeping it at keeping it at our current levels, but as you can tell, I will probably lose that one. How can they be so far off? Yeah, I'm not sure, Margaret. Blows my mind. If I was that far off in class, I might have got held back a year. Just kind of crazy. They can be that incorrect and get away with it. Anyway, that was your Russell, was your worst performer. You had the NASDAQ as well, down 0.8, so not looking great. Kind of forming a little bit of a double top here, at least in that reaction to it today. Personally, it does look like it's going to continue to move on up, but what it has to do, it's got to break this most recent pivot low at 14,852. If it does that, then okay, now I'm all of a sudden become bearish, but I can't be bearish yet unless I'm just going to trade this small little move back down to 1485 or 14,852. But I just don't feel that yet. Still feel like there's a lot of emotion and positive activity going on in the markets. S&P now is slightly worse than the NASDAQ 100. It's down 0.82 as of right now, 4,447, down 36 points on the day. It also, nice double top right near the peak of that supply zone we talked about at 4,500. We hit just a couple of days ago an intraday high of 44.98. We just have not been able to break 4,500. So we'll see if we get a retracement, maybe back down to this pivot low, which is right around 4,367 for the S&P. Bitcoin taking a little bit of a drubbing today. It was weird the way the action happened. It was like looking great and positive, nice new highs for Bitcoin. Then all of a sudden, screaming back down, just tons of volatility, even though the volume on the futures market wasn't that great. Bitcoin is down 0.54% to 30,510. All right, podium time is close. We are still watching gold struggle at this demand zone. Really thought we'd maybe see a bigger bounce. Didn't happen. Today you had higher volume than normal. Last 2 days really have been high volume, slowly drifting lower. And I tell you what, if we get down below this 1890 mark, I think you can see a pretty quick fall all the way down to about 1810, 1815. But I just feel like gold needs to rally, but that trend is saying, no, sir, keep on going down. Down 0.61% today at 1915. Dollar index. Right now, you're getting a misleading number. That's a 10-year, which is the leader. You had a down day today of 0.22% for the dollar index. Nothing really that big. Still on an uptrend for the past couple of weeks. Crude oil. I did sell some puts on XLE today. I'll show you that one. I did XLE, and I also did Tesla puts today. Sold some of those for some premium, which has been pretty good. To get the volume off the chart, crude oil was basically unchanged on the day, but what's noteworthy about it, at least from the price candle, is the long bottoming tail, and then it came right back up to where it closed at yesterday. So that's a rather positive sign. We are right at some areas of issue for crude oil, right around this 72.50 mark. So that'll be the next obstacle. If not, if we break that, then I think you're cleared at about $75 on crude oil. And lastly, your 10-year, which had a surge today. It always rolls over, which kind of messes up the whole percentage gain. But if you want to go percentage gain from yesterday through today, 2.52% up for that 10-year. Why? Because multiple things. Number one, expectations are they're going to raise the Fed funds rate even more, so the whole curve should lift up, meaning higher yield for the 10-year. Plus, again, I think that the demand for 10-year is going to decline even more, meaning the yield has to be higher and offer more for that 10-year. So strange times. I think that pretty much covers it for today's show. We had the VIX. I know some of you watched that VIX. I was interested in VIX, really, if we get below that 10 mark, but we didn't. I think we bottomed out around 1280 on that VIX. Today, a pretty big surge, about 8.7% on VIX, as a little bit of fear crept into the market, but subsided. We'll see if that continues over the next couple of days. All right, let me see. Plato says, what's your opinion on following unusual options activity? I saw a bunch of people posting about a large flow of new Intel calls expiring tomorrow. All these unusual channels feel like a pump. I agree. I think it is a pump thing. I don't particularly look at it, but I'm also not an options expert. Everybody knows that. I'm a minimalist when it comes to options, so I don't particularly look at that. I'm sure we have others here that would give you some better feedback on that one. But Plato, that's I don't look at it. I was told many years ago by one of my mentors, focus on the heavy open interest strikes, and that's gonna be magnet to price. And I did follow that, but I don't feel like it operated as a magnet to price. And I found myself spending a lot of time looking for these little things that people told me were great, but I just couldn't get it to work for me. So I kind of put those on the back burner and I focus on what works for me. So yeah, that's sorry, I know I didn't get you the answer that you wanted, but I don't look at it. I got too many things to look at on a daily basis. If you're an intense options trader and that's all you do all day long, then there might be some value there. But I would pay attention to when they make these statements. Look at the before, look at the after, see what's going on. I'd look at that option chain. I would check out that open interest and see, is this really a magnet to price? Is this big inflow of unusual options at a particular strike price, puts or calls? Does that drive markets? And do some research before you start jumping into it. I think there is something there personally. I just don't have the time to figure it all out. Let's see. My yellow box holding up between 1820 and 1910 on the rut. 1820, 1910. Oh, so you're pretty much where I'm at. So I mean, the 1820 is just a hair below this low, and then you went 1910. Is that what you said? 1910. So you're a little lower. So you're cutting off those peaks, but still pretty close. Yeah, you're pretty much spot on. I was doing the 1920 to right around 1820 to 1920. So yeah, holding for now. Let me see. When is Scott McCormick coming on the show? He said he only wants to come on once every few months, quarterly. I was like, Scott, people love you on the show. Remember, the only real reason people come on the show is to pitch their wares, and Scott is just kind of this humble guy that doesn't, I don't know, he doesn't really like coming on and talking. He doesn't ever like being on camera, that's for sure. But I do miss him. He's good to have on. I'll reach out to David, see if I can get him back on. Yeah. And I owe you one, Katut, because we were supposed to wear the shirts that you sent me, and we were supposed to wear them at the same show, but we didn't. So I will put Warner on here. All right, I'll put Warner on the list and see if I can get Scott McCormick to come back on. As you guys know, I'm terrible at asking guests to come on the show, so I'm really not that good. Thinkorswim gives you all that info in the options chain. Nice. They give you unusual volume? I know they give you all the implied volatility and all that stuff, but most chains do. All right, 45 after. Let's go to your economic calendar for tomorrow. Next week is really the exciting week, guys. It really starts to kick off earnings season near the tail end of the week, by the way, not early on. But tomorrow, earnings-wise, you've got the best ticker symbol, AS. AS is reporting earnings tomorrow. That's AZZ. But from the economic calendar, let's check that out for you right now. You do have a few things going on for the U.S. You've got average hourly earnings, non-farm employment change, and then the unemployment rate. You notice the expectations are right now it's looking at dropping 0.1%. So great. There was the surge. We were seeing it start to slowly creep up. Let me show you. Here's their chart of it. Right, we saw that pop at the last one. Be like, uh-oh, here we go. Lift off for unemployment numbers. And lo and behold, expectations are right now that we're going to come out at 3.6. So anything 3.7 or lower is going to be great. And I think that ADP non-farm employment change number today kind of speaks to we should come out at 3.6 or 3.7. I think we'll come out at 3.7 would be my guess. But that's your first major piece coming out tomorrow is ADP non-farm employment change and the unemployment rate. You have natural gas storage as well, which is weird. Typically it comes out on Thursdays, not Fridays, but the holiday week shifted everything one day. You also have Italian retail sales for those of you like Italiano goods and services, maybe the Prada, the Fendi, the Gucci, the Armani. We see what their retail sales numbers are tomorrow. Looks like a little bit of a pullback expected there, but you guys all know that's earth-shattering news. Italian retail sales numbers. Hint the sarcasm on today's show. You have German Bubba President Nagel will be speaking, and Canada on unemployment rate as well as their employment change. Oh yeah, you know what? Let me bring on. You guys are making a list for me, so bring on Colin. Who else did you guys want? Traders Army. Corey said he was going to come on. TA. We'll bring on TA for you. Why not? What about your options trader friend that came back from the dark side? And he seemed to have a great info and something. Which one was that? You're talking? No, Sam Evans. Yeah, he used to work for Voldemort. He who shall not be named. Yeah, he used to work for Voldemort, and now he runs a hedge fund. So he really doesn't. He's not in the education side of things anymore. I said Armani, Giorgio Armani, a buon nome italiano. Yeah, Colin Teddards was a good guy. I really liked Colin Teddards. Let me see. His channel is actually really good as well for those of you who are interested. It's called The Investor Channel. I think it's called The Investor Channel. Good stuff. He does all the stuff that I don't want to do. He does all the fundamental research and digs through the financials that I could care less. I don't want to take the time. It was so boring when I was in college. I didn't want to do it as an adult. And he does that work for you. Yeah, I have Dan Sugar and I have a little bit of an issue together. Here's the thing, and I know I'm going to polarize people right now, and I apologize. I believe that you should have a freedom of choice, and I believe that you should, I guess, vote how you want. But if I was to berate somebody because of their political choice, and then call them an idiot, and any time that they would say anything, I would slam them very rudely, aggressively, and completely disrespect my fellow human because they thought that X president was better than Y president. I have a problem with that. Look, you don't have to love the president. It's what we're stuck with. We can always vote the next election and move on. But some people were very vocal about just their disgust for somebody and doing everything in their power to create a hostile environment. And I refuse to have a hostile environment on this show or in my personal life. If I have somebody who's militant about a specific political party, and I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, I really don't care. But if you're going to berate me for my choice and yell at me and scream me and call me an asshole and all this stuff and threaten me, then get out of my life. I want nothing to do with you. So those types of people, I don't have a lot of respect for. So I apologize if some of you are in that boat. I think the human condition is that we can all get along and understand that we're different, we have differences, and find solutions for those differences as opposed to insult people and make them feel like crap. Anyway, that's going to do it for today. No earnings tomorrow. You got the economic calendar. It's Friday. I'll have a glass of whiskey. I will have some topics. It's so weird to say it's already Friday. We're already here. It's great. I love it. So if you guys have comments, questions, feedback, you can email me at TraderMerlin@gmail.com. Tomorrow, I will spend more time going over your listener questions because I did not get a chance to do that today. I apologize, but we ran over on our topic du jour, which was building a trading computer, and I hope that may have helped some of you maybe fix your current computer, look for resources to make it better, or just food for thought content for you. We need more than one. We need like a dozen of them, and it would be nice if they could all have a say. It's funny, you get these candidates and you go, this candidate could actually be pretty good. Oh, but they're not nominated by this party or that party, so they get pushed to the back burner. No one ever hears from them. So bizarre the way our system works. Get Brett Johnson on the show? Oh, I'd love to. Oh, man. Now you're going to make me go watch that interview again. Anyway. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. If you have someone who's looking at building a computer, share that show. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you dislike it, hit the Is there a hate button? There is no thumbs down anymore. If you hate the show, that's great as well. Just email me at TraderMerlin@gmail.com and tell me what you don't like about it, and we'll try to fix it. Sometimes I'm just a salty, bitter old man, so I can't fix that. I've done some work at being now not as condescending, but I'm doing my best to help everybody out here. So I hope you all enjoyed it today. I will see you all for our Friday show. Take care. Have a great trading day tomorrow.